sit like that. So today we're talking about ferns. I grabbed a few different ferns from throughout the store. We got a Korean rock fern. We have a few different types of Boston ferns over here. A cool staghorn. And we're just going to do a basic overview of ferns today because I know ferns are one of those plants that people find kind of intimidating, kind of challenging, when in reality they're a little bit more simple than everybody thinks. So something I want to point out before we get going is that now I'm hoping they're at all of our stores, but I know for sure they're at the Jung Pittsburgh location. We got these new houseplant like care books, which are really, really, really awesome. And I actually marked the page that has ferns in it. And so there's a bunch of information in here from just kind of a good basic or like overview of ferns, like where they come from, like how many varieties there are, to literally how to care for your ferns. So like light to fertilizer to water to temperature to repotting to propagating, all of it. So, and this goes over a bunch of plants. Like this is a pretty thick book and it goes over a bunch of plants. So this is a really awesome book that you guys should check out if you've got a bunch of questions or just want to know more information about plants. Really good book. So that being said, I also got a few things to show you how to just soil in general, because I know that's something that people are kind of confused about with ferns. Something about ferns, like let me take this one out of here real quick. You can notice the pots are a little bit shorter with ferns. That's because they've got a very sensitive, very small root system. So that means their roots are very, very tiny. They're very, very shallow. So when you're repotting them, you want shallower pots and you want to get soil that will retain water really well. So here I have just a straight peat moss mixture, which is something that's really good when you get ferns from a nursery. Most of the time they will be potted in peat moss or a coconut husk. Usually you'll probably see peat moss. I also grabbed African violet mix though, which is something that usually retains a lot of moisture. It's usually mostly peat moss, and it's a really, really good, if you don't want to, if you're a little bit worried about just doing peat moss, it's another really good one that will probably work really well with your ferns. So since we're on soil and kind of water subject, you can see we've got a lot of these colorful, cool, round pots over here. These are actually self-watering pots. So that means that there's part where you plant your pot in, and then there's a whole different container that's kind of a reservoir. So you fill this part with water, and you'll put the part that you planted the plant in. Little bit of a tongue twister. And this is all porous clay. So when you put it in here, when it's full of water, it actually waters itself. So you don't really have to do too much with it, except make sure that you're not overfilling the reservoir / it's not emptying for too long. So those are really nice. A lot of people really like those for ferns because, like I mentioned earlier, the root system is so sensitive. If it dries out for too long, they'll die. And that's why people find them so hard to take care of, because there's only like a brief window where they're okay being dry. After that, then you start to get crispy leaves and like this Boston fern. People love Boston ferns. But this in here is why people find it so terrifying. And this is okay too. Like, it doesn't mean your plant's unhealthy. It doesn't mean that it's dying. It just means that it needs a little bit more water, a little bit more humidity. And so that being said, pebble trays are a really, really good way to bring up the humidity for your plants. And I didn't grab any trays, unfortunately, but pebble trays are really easy to explain. You can use any tray you have, from plastic to terracotta to a random plate that you're using from your kitchen. You can use any sort of tray. And what you do is you can either grab really, really small pebbles, or what I use at home are a little bit larger clay pebbles. And I will just I'll put a nice layer, like a nice even layer with my round pebbles. I put just like one down, so it's one layer of pebble. Otherwise, if you put like a good inch in there in your tray, it should be fine. Enough that you can like have a good amount of water in the tray and still have your plant sit on top of it without it sitting in water the whole time. That's essentially a pebble tray. And a really, really fun way with those is you don't have to remember to refill them all the time if you're watering your plant. Whatever extra water comes out the bottom of your plant's pot will fill that pebble tray and make humidity for itself. So it's kind of fun to do that. And you can do it with fun colors of rocks. You can do all sorts of fun stuff. Lava rocks are a really good one that just promote really good bacteria, really promote good humidity because they've got so many crevices in the rocks, so many holes that they just hold a lot of water in them. They're really good.
Well, we have a question.
Oh, yay. Okay.
Do foghorn ferns need to be misted?
Any fern should be misted. If you don't have enough humidity in your house, you probably should be misting your fern almost every single day. I know the ferns I have at home are kind of spoiled babies. I have a specific spray bottle just for them that I will mist them with. So absolutely you should be misting your ferns. Another good way to get around having to mist them all the time is just putting them closer to, if you've got a humidifier in your house, just putting them closer to the humidifier so you don't have to mist them every day if you don't want to. Otherwise, if you don't have a humidifier, totally mist your plants every single day. That's a great thing for not only staghorn ferns / ferns, but a lot of plants will really enjoy getting misted. So yeah, you should totally be doing that.
Perfect.
Okay, cool. I lost my train of thought a little bit, but I'm glad I could answer your question.
I'm here to help.
For sure. Oh, light. I should probably tell you light situations for these guys. So, ferns are kind of nice with their lighting. They're going to prefer if you've got a really good room that's bright all day long, kind of like the light that I'm in right now. If you've got a room that's naturally lit like this all day long, he'll be happy there. Just try to not place him close to a window, put him more towards the opposite side of the room that doesn't have a window, so he'll get light. His cutoff time for light is going to be sooner than the plants closer to the window. Or if you don't have a bright room that's lit all day long, some spot in your house that gets morning sun, just morning sun, a fern would be super happy there because the morning sun is actually way more delicate on the plant leaves than the afternoon sun because it's way hotter. And fern leaves are very, very delicate, so they don't want any of that afternoon sun. So a morning light spot or just nice diffused light spot would be perfect for a fern. And then since we talked about humidity, for watering, the ferns I have at home, I water them almost every 3 days. Granted, my house is very hot and dry, so I've got a lot of humidifiers running as well. So if your house is a little bit cooler, not as dry as my house is, you probably won't have to water them as often. But I usually water mine around every 3 days. And I'm also, for a lot of them, I'm bottom watering them as well. I'm not just going right over the top to squish their leaves with water or anything like that. I'm watering them from the bottom. And I know that sounds a little silly because I said earlier that they like their leaves being misted, which they totally do, but there's a difference between misting a nice, soft, like, water onto them instead of just dumping water on top of their sensitive leaves. Like, it's a little bit different. So I tend to bottom water mine, and then they really get the water, the amount of water that they need, not just me guessing, okay, here's 5 seconds of water, you're probably okay. I can actually watch them drink the water too, bottom watering, so that's fun for me. So it might be fun for you guys at home, especially if you've got kids and stuff like that. It'll be really cool to watch your plants actually drink water. You literally will watch them drink it. Like, they'll drink it up through the bottom, especially the clear tray. A lot of, if the tray's big enough too, even if it's not clear, you'll still see them drink water. Don't think that you need to get clear trays to see your plants drink the water. Bottom watering in general, you will normally see your plant drink the water, so it's really, really cool. Other than that, fertilizer. My plants at home, they just get a generic all-purpose houseplant fertilizer, nothing too special. I just make sure when I'm watering my ferns, I'm diluting it a little bit more than halfway even, because normally you're supposed to dilute it with water a little bit, like not half and half, but enough where it's, diluted so it's not really just pure fertilizer. I will go a little bit lighter on my fertilizing when I do my ferns because they need watering so often. So I'll actually fertilize them a little bit more than I will my other plants, which I'll probably do maybe twice a month, where these guys will probably get fertilized 3 times a month when they're in active growing season. Um, Sometimes, depending on the ones, like I know Boston ferns will grow really, really, really fast. At home, I have an asparagus fern who's growing like crazy. So he'll probably get fertilized 4 times this month instead of the normal 3 times that I do with my other ferns. But
We have another question.
oh, yay, okay.
Would all house plants benefit from pebble trays, and do you remove the pebble trays during the summer?
I will typically leave my pebble trays where they are. Like if the plant has a pebble tray, that's his normal tray. I won't really. If he gets moved, his pebble tray gets moved with him, type of thing. For the during the summer thing, it depends. If it's a plant that I'll put outside, I won't move his tray with him because they run the risk, if you put a tray under them while they're outside, they run the risk of getting waterlogged from rain and stuff like that, because that tray will just continue to fill with water. It won't ever like drain or dry out, because outside it's the water's a little bit different outside. I'm not a scientist, so I can't exactly put my finger on it outside, but I typically, if I move my plant outside, he won't get a tray. So if that's what you're asking, I would say I wouldn't leave the tray on him in the summer. But if it's just my house plant that I'm just opening windows and he's staying in the house, he'll definitely keep that pebble tray all summer long. Anything that stays in the house will definitely get a pebble tray all summer long. Otherwise, if they go outside, no trays. So that probably makes a little bit more sense than what I said first. But yeah, pebble trays for all plants though. Most, yes. There's a certain plants like snake plants or there's a few others that I can't really think off the top of my head that wouldn't really care if they had one either way or not. They wouldn't be mad at you. I don't think any plant would be angry if it got a pebble tray, but there's a lot that can be totally fine and thrive without one, where usually I will give pebble trays to my more picky, more high maintenance plants like Clathias or Ferns or palms are a really good one that really do need humidifiers, if not pebble trays, as well as I'm looking right at it and I can't remember the name of it. Oh, pitcher plants. The pitcher plants, I know it's kind of silly because they're hung up, but they do really need a lot of humidity, so it's a little bit harder to do pebble trays with those guys, but they do really need a lot of humidity. But yeah, always do your research though. If you're going to get a new plant and you are questioning if it will need a pebble tray or not, definitely do the research. Put the time in to do a quick Google search before you check out with that plant to take it home, if it'll need one or not. Because then you can buy the tray before you leave. You can get the racks if you don't have racks at home. A quick Google search it's never a bad idea. I'm constantly doing Google searches about plants that I've had for like going on 2-3 years now. Still doing research, still finding out new information about them that I didn't know before. So it never hurts to do research.
Got another question.
Cool.
If a palm has started to dry out and the leaves look discolored, is there any way to bring it back down?
It depends. If they are more of a yellow color, it is probably a nitrogen problem. So he's going to need some fertilizer. He's probably going to need some more sun, and he might need more water. If it's a browning problem, if all the leaves are brown, it's an underwatering problem. He probably needed more humidity, and he probably wasn't getting enough water. So if it's more brown, it's going to be a little bit harder to bring him back, but you might be able to. I would up his watering, get him a pebble tray if he doesn't have one already, or might sound a little bit babying, but maybe consider investing into a humidifier just for that little guy. But he might come back. Palms, when they are growing, they grow kind of slow, but once they produce that frond for a new branch, it will start to go pretty quick. So I would maybe start soaking him if he's really underwatered enough, if he's in a terracotta pot, I would get a bucket or something or fill the tub and soak him overnight in his pot to really give him enough water. He might come back from that. But definitely consider giving a fertilizer shot. Definitely give him a fertilizer shot. That will definitely help him if he's got a little bit of life in him. Unfortunately, I can't help any other more than that without getting a picture of him or seeing him or something. So hopefully that helps a little bit. But I definitely don't give up on him yet. Hopefully he's got some more fight in him and he's got life in him. But fertilizer shot. If he's brown, water. If he's yellow, definitely a fertilizer shot. Definitely fertilizer. Probably needs more light too. I always have a problem with palms in my house. I always think they have enough light and they never do. So more light, more light, more light. Probably humidifier too. But yeah.
All right.
Let me try to backtrack a little bit if we are still okay on time.
Yep, well, you're over, but it's fine.
Oh.
Yeah, you're way fine. Like, if you want to keep talking, go ahead.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can think of to help people get over their fear of ferns. Because I know this whole quarantine that we all went through, I tackled my fear of ferns. So if I can help any of you guys do it, they're way easier than you think. You just have to be vigilant and really remember your watering days. If you're doing every 2 days, remember to do every 2 days. Because that one day is what's going to get them. But other than that, do it. Get a fern. Don't be scared. Cool.
See you next time.
Oh, yeah. See you guys next time.